From the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, this is Carolina Week.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us for the March 28th edition of Carolina Week. I'm Bridget Williams.
And I'm Brooke Baldwin. We're proud to be bringing you coverage of Carolina news and events.
The blueprint for campus growth in the next 20 to 50 years is set, following the Board of Trustees' unanimous approval of the University Master Plan.
But some local residents are concerned that certain proposals in the plan will ruin their neighborhood. The plan will guide future decisions about new buildings, parking, and transportation, among other issues. Some residents living just south of the UNC campus have several concerns about what might happen to them. The plan calls for the creation of an access road running directly through the neighborhood, the elimination of a buffer zone separating the area from the university, and for campus expansion onto 3 privately owned properties. The chair of the Master Plan Steering Committee, Jonathan Hose, says the concerns are legitimate, but that the university's interests make the expansion necessary.
After testing these ideas with people pretty thoroughly throughout the system, we concluded that the plan ought to include development along that southern border of the campus.
We'll take an in-depth look at the concerns of residents who live in the affected neighborhood on the next edition of Carolina Week.
Construction continues to hinder the lives of South Campus residents, and this time the workers in the Public Safety Department as well. Morrison Drive closes this week for utility work on the new South Campus Residence Hall, located next to Morrison Dorm. Travelers use Morrison Drive to get to parking behind the Public Safety Building and the dorm. Access to Morrison and DPS is moved to a temporary two-way drive across from the hospital emergency room. Officials say they expect Morrison Drive to be closed 3 to 4 weeks. The struggle for peaceful coexistence in Chapel Hill neighborhoods sometimes pits students against other residents. The problem is re-entering the forefront as several residents prepare to address the town council with their concerns. Residents complain that some rented houses are overcrowded with students and yards full of cars. On the other hand, students feel that proposed regulations specifically target affordable homes in convenient locations. Opposing groups met at a recent town hall meeting, but council members decided to postpone the discussion of the issue until a later date.
The Federal Reserve is working hard to keep the economy from falling into a recession. And as Carolina Week's Michelle Muscatello tells us, company layoffs and hiring freezes are leaving Carolina seniors struggling to find jobs.
With graduation less than 2 months away, UNC seniors are getting ready for life beyond Carolina. For many, that means finding a job. But the slowing economy is making that job search more difficult for the class of 2001. Brew Davis is a senior communications and history major. He says finding a job is hard work.
And I don't know specifics, but I think overall it feels like it's a little bit tougher for me and my friends to get jobs than it was for people who graduated last year.
But University Career Services Associate Director Tim Stiles says that's not the case.
It's been a really good year because the fall was another successful recruiting year. We saw pretty high demand at that point. The spring typically isn't as heavy in terms of on-campus interviewing and job listings.
Even though some seniors are having difficulty finding jobs, a lot of companies are still hiring. The University Career Services can help students find those available jobs. The Career Services website has job listings and alumni contact information. Students can also post their resumes and cover letters on the site. In Chapel Hill, I'm Michelle Muscatello, Carolina Week.
Career Services is sponsoring a spring job fair on April 11th in the Great Hall.
Lots of people on campus are talking about a display of graphic photos in the quad. Members of an anti-abortion group hope the images will remain in students' minds long after the group has left. Be advised, many of these photos might be disturbing. Carolina is one of 30 college campuses the organization visited this year. Some of the enlarged abortion images include quarters and dimes to show fetus size at different stages. The controversial images caught the eye of everyone who walked by and sparked debate among students. Pro-choice advocates carried signs protesting the anti-abortion message. The organization's regional director says he hopes people on both sides of the debate will talk openly about abortion.
Many women who have abortions do so out of desperation. They're in a panic. And what we want to get people to do is stop and say, there's something so important here, the life of another human being, that we need to figure out other ways to solve the problems associated with unwanted pregnancy.
In our Speak Out segment today, there's no shortage of student opinions about abortion and this group's efforts to spark discussion about the issue.
They have police out here, I guess. I heard somebody talking about rioting. I don't think that's going to happen. But I think it'll spark a lot of controversy. I mean, obviously, of course it's going to.
I think it's misleading because the pictures are so large, and I think people don't realize the true size of the fetus, and that fetuses obviously are not viable. And I mean, to me, they're no different than the yolk of an egg.
So I'm perfectly happy just to be able to talk to these guys, see what they have to say. Even though I might not agree with everything they say, they have good arguments.
Abortion is a decision for an individual to make, and it's not for a group to make, and it's not for the government to say that one cannot be had by, a woman.
And that it's actually condescending to women to think that women aren't strong enough to see these pictures, or that somehow we're not able to handle it.
Our sample is in no way scientific and shouldn't be taken as a reflection of widespread opinions on campus.
Imagine being held against your will for 4 years, having to endure starvation and torture while others around you are murdered, including members of your family. That's what happened to Dith Pran, and he lived to tell about it. Tuesday, Pran gave the keynote address in a celebration of Human Rights Week here on the UNC-Chapel Hill campus. Pran is a survivor of the Cambodian Holocaust. After the lecture, organizers showed the killing fields, a film based on Pran's ordeal that was followed by a question-and-answer session. He says he hopes his speeches and the movie educate people about what humans are capable of doing to one another. The Campus Y organized Pran's visit and is the main sponsor of Human Rights Week on campus.
Most people consider horseback riding a leisure activity or sport.
We'll show you how some riders are discovering new benefits when Carolina Week returns.
I hang out with a pretty trashy circle. The circle that helps this circle by recycling trash. We sort glass, plastic, separate cans, stack newspapers and magazines. Now, thanks to us, there are lots of products made from things we've already recycled. This cereal box wants your Sunday paper. These paper clips, in a more daring life, a 56 convertible. The circle works like this. It starts when we recycle trash at home and at work. It's completed when we buy products made from or packaged in recycled materials. How do you know the difference? Check the label for something called post-consumer recycled content. It looks like this. Make a mental note. Then buy the highest percentage of it you can find. You'll save a tree, you'll save energy, and in your own way, you'll help save the world. Complete the circle.
Call 1-800-2-RECYCLE for your free shopping guide. Environmental Defense, finding the ways that work.
President Reagan once said, "There's nothing better for the inside of a man than the outside of a horse." Some Triangle children are learning this lesson firsthand. Carolina Week's Christy Fair explains.
Working as one comes naturally for Kathy Beerline and her horse Chinook. They're one of helping horses' success stories. Kathy has difficulty communicating, but after 7 years in the Wake County Therapeutic Riding Program, she's much more outgoing.
Woo! Silly horse. She tripped.
Each week, her mom watches her and her sister Gianna from the sidelines. She's proud of the progress made by the 2 kids she's adopted.
There have been some really interesting bumps along the way. But it's, you have no guarantees with normal kids.
These kids have special needs, and Ellen says they're special kids.
My children are not cookie cutter kids. They don't fit into any mold.
But they both fit in the saddle. Volunteers lend a helping hand, giving emotional and physical support. They learn to appreciate life in the process.
When you work with people who have so much limitations, you learn how many you don't have, and it makes you really grateful for all that you have.
Controlling a 1,000-pound horse, like Jazz here, isn't easy to do, but it gives these riders a sense of confidence they can use in the ring and out. Riders navigate barrels, cones, and a bridge. Good therapy, but more important, it's fun.
Good. Good.
Instructor Holly Tyndall says the goal of the program is to
celebrate little successes, that's right, and build on those.
The Helping Horse program gives kids with disabilities something to connect to and helps them build lifelong bonds. In Creedmoor, I'm Christy Fair, Carolina Week.
Both Kathy and Gianna will show off their riding skills this summer in the Special Olympics.
Did you know that billions of dollars are up for grabs? No, it's not the lottery. It's people gambling on March Madness basketball. Although gambling on college sports is illegal in most states, people continue to throw money into pools and bet big bucks on their favorite teams. There are even websites that offer tips for picking who will win and which players will perform under pressure. According to the FBI, people gambled $2.5 billion on the 1995 Division I basketball championship game. This year, that figure could be even higher. Senator John Edwards thinks betting on games takes away from the integrity of college sports.
Oh, I think we have been a strong force against gambling on college sports. I think it's something that needs to be stopped. It's all about the integrity of our college sports, and I'm doing everything in my power to get legislation passed to stop gambling on college sports.
Edwards is, of course, fighting an uphill battle, but perhaps his efforts will at least curb campus betting.
UNC-Chapel Hill students who went to Russia during spring break are just now developing their pictures, but the friendships they developed are worth more than 1,000 words. Carolina Week's Regina Willis has the story from Moscow.
People still have it in their minds that Moscow is this place that either is against us or we should fear or something, and it really wasn't like that at all.
Mike Klein is one of 9 UNC journalism students who spent spring break in Russia, visiting the Moscow State Institute for International Relations.
I thought we were going into a very cold climate that would reflect on its people, and it really didn't for people our age.
The university paid for students to study for the week at the Russian school, known as McGimo. Students spent mornings in class learning about Russian culture, politics, and history. In the afternoon, the city of Moscow became a classroom. History and culture came alive during strolls through Red Square and the Kremlin, as well as visits to St. Basil's Cathedral and the Bolshoi Theater. One highlight for the journalism students was visiting Russian media and making comparisons to American newspapers and broadcast outlets. But the trip was about more than sightseeing.
My favorite part of Russia wasn't really the places that we saw, but it was more the people that we met.
UNC students spoke almost no Russian, but McGimo students, fluent in English, took them around the school and city. Graduate student Rusty Haynes said he couldn't have asked for better hosts.
Very smart people, well-educated, super nice, generous. They would skip class to hang out with us, and over there skipping class is a definite no-no.
But the Russian students thought that making American friends was worth several days away from class.
All I knew about American life is that of this serial opera, Beverly Hills 90210, nothing else. So it was very interesting to find out something more about your life.
Within a day or two, we felt like we had lifelong friends, and it seems as though these people that we met we'll stay in touch with for a long time.
Although UNC students visited McGimo for only 1 week, they made many Russian friends. School officials are discussing setting up an exchange program so that in the future, UNC students will have more time to learn about Russia and its people. In Moscow, I'm Regina Willis, Carolina Week.
It's Gay, Lesbian, Bisexual, and Transgender Celebration Week at Carolina, and divas danced in a drag show Tuesday night to celebrate. 7 amateurs and 3 professional drag queens from Legends in Raleigh strutted their stuff while the audience went wild. Professional queen Taj Mahal was a favorite. A few hundred students and faculty crowded the Student Union Film Auditorium to take part in the lighthearted event. UNC sophomore Jesse Davidson says although drag shows are entertaining, having one on campus serves a larger purpose.
It's such a fun event. And also, it's just a culturally aware event because it's part of the queer culture, and it's something that we really wanted to express because it's also just so much fun to partake in and to go watch and enjoy.
Davidson says the Queer Network for Change hopes to make the drag show an annual event. It's been really nice to see so much sun lately. It's better than it was last week.
The sun has been out, but it's still pretty chilly. It doesn't feel like spring to me yet.
Yeah. No, although this week has started off pretty cold, the good news is that it's getting warmer. The bad news is that the first part of the weekend could bring some showers and thunder showers. Speaking of severe weather, this week's weather question is, when is the peak of tornado season? Is it A, in early February, B, in late May, C, in mid-July, or D, in late August? I'll be back in just a minute with your answer and your forecast.
Little rascal.
Scientists have proven that his brain will develop better when you read, sing, and talk to him in full sentences from the day he is born.
What do you want, honey?
Let him bring out the baby in you, but you need to bring out his mind. An early start. Now that's smart.
Hi, and welcome back to Carolina Week. Sunny skies competing with chilly temperatures have us in a state of seasonal confusion, but outside the flowers are blooming, and they're still dodging some frost warnings, though, as we saw earlier in the week. This little daffodil shown here, though, managed to survive the frost, as have quite a few flowers and vegetation around campus, making it look pretty nice outside. We can't discount the cold weather quite yet, though, as it is only the beginning of April, or the end of March, and with the end of March and the beginning of April comes daylight saving time. It begins this Sunday, April the 1st at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's just some fun facts about daylight saving time if you ever wanted to know. It was Benjamin Franklin's idea, and this plan trims the U.S. energy use by less than 1% per day. So that might not sound like a lot, but if you take into account all the energy that the United States puts out, it adds up to be quite a bit of energy that we save. So, daylight saving time aside, let's see what's going on the weather map. You can see it's kind of a busy looking scene outside. As we head to the end of this week, the beginning of this weekend, you can see quite a strong system being pushed off the coast. It really is going to be dragging up a lot of Gulf moisture, which should be affecting us Thursday, Friday, and into the weekend. But the good news is high pressure is going to fill in behind it, making Saturday and most of Sunday pretty nice. Now, there's a little trough out to our west, which might trigger a shower or to Sunday night or into Monday, but that's still pretty far off and nothing to worry about quite yet. But let's take a look at what your Carolina Week 4-day forecast has in store. Friday, like I mentioned, with all the Gulf moisture, we're going to have warm temperature and a lot of moisture involved, which leads to stability, so we might see some of the first thunderstorms of the year, and a high of 67 degrees, which isn't bad. Saturday, the skies should clear out with a high of 70, and that looks like the best day of the weekend. Sunday, it starts to cool down a little bit with a high of 64 and partly cloudy skies, and on Monday, we see that chance of shower again, but a high of 63, and it won't be a washout, like I said. Now, if you're planning on spending some time at the beach this weekend, things look pretty good there. We have rain up, but it's not going to be continual through the day. You should see a peak of sunshine, in between the showers. A high of 72 on Saturday and a high of 67 on Sunday. Now, if you're planning a trip out to the mountains at all sometime this weekend, high of 62 on Saturday and 59 on Sunday. And out there, it really shouldn't be a washout at all either. So, let's see. No severe weather in the forecast, thank goodness. Maybe a thunderstorm on, I said Friday. So, but as far as the peak of tornado season goes, did you have time to think about it?
What do you guys think?
I said July.
I said mid-August because it's the peak of heat, summer, and
Yeah, it starts to pick up come April, but late May is the answer. It was B. So we are starting to head into severe weather season, but it's also April, May, starting to get warmer. So that looks good for outdoor activities and sporting events around campus, stuff like that.
Yeah, spring sports starting to kick up. The weather hopefully will cooperate. So.
Hopefully, yeah.
Though we're still all recovering from our loss in the NC2A tournament, aren't we?
Yeah, we were still playing this time last year, right?
Yeah, I think Carolina fans certainly want to forget about basketball and move on as quick as possible. Coming up in sports, review the up and down season. Also, North Carolina and Virginia stage a border state athletic war, and several Tar Heels prove why they're pretty fast. But going to break, even though the Heels didn't make the Final Four this year, the ACC is well represented as both Duke and Maryland are making the trip to Minneapolis. Michigan State and Arizona kick things off on Saturday, followed by Duke and Maryland a half an hour after that game. The national championship will be decided Monday night at 9 p.m.
To a child, a little of your time can make a lifetime of difference. That's why the Greenville Family Partnership sponsored a hike, because kids with something to do are less likely to do drugs.
Standing right in front of them.
Whether you're a good storyteller or a good listener, you can help. To find out about community drug prevention programs, call toll-free 1-877-KIDS-313.
I can keep a kid off drugs.
Back to the top of the foul circle, got it to Hayward, and Hayward can go to the floor, moving right side, drives, knocked away by Forte. Schillinger will try to cut him off. Forte takes it all away against Max Owens. That is the 6th Carolina turnover, turning off to Peppers, faking. That's off, knocked away, Curry races it down.
Welcome back to Carolina Week. As the 4 surviving men's college basketball teams convene in Minneapolis, the North Carolina Tar Heels are still back in Chapel Hill. The Heels' seasons was up and down, high and low, and all over the board, and it fizzled at the end. Carolina Week's Ayanna Banks recaps the madness.
The 2000-2001 season began with high hopes as the old was renewed. Former player Matt Doherty returned to Chapel Hill as head coach. The team also took the old jerseys out the closet and retired the new ones. The season began with a 5-game win streak stopped by not 1 but 2 double-digit losses. However, the Heels rebounded and went on a nation-leading 18-game winning streak. They seemed unstoppable and on the express road to the Final Four. Nothing but cord. And then Sundays weren't such a blessing for those in Carolina blue. First, the men lost to the worst team in the ACC by 10. And then another Sunday rolled around and Duke embarrassed Carolina in the Dean Dome. So the regular season ended with 3 losses in 5 games. Sundays remained unkind throughout postseason play, and it seemed like deja vu the following Sunday in the ACC championship. Duke once again humiliated the team 79-53. Was this the same team that beat Duke in Durham just weeks before? Doherty and the men traveled to New Orleans for the NCAA tourney. Carolina beat Princeton in the first round, but once again, like clockwork, Sunday came and brought with it another loss, this time a season-ending one, as Penn State upset the Heels in the second round, leaving all Carolina fans saying, next year. With the basketball team in Chapel Hill, I'm Ayanna Banks, Carolina Week.
With basketball season over and spring football practice not yet started, other sports are taking center stage. The Tar Heels were running and jumping all over Fetzer Field as they hosted the UNC Challenge Cup during the weekend. Duke, NC State, and St. Augustine also took part in the 2-day event. The women's team was led by Crystal Cox, who won the 100-meter dash in a time of 12.1 seconds. The Carolina women's team ran away with the meet with a score of 285 points, more than double the score of runner-up St. Augustine. On the men's side, it was much closer as the Heels just managed to get by, also by St. Augustine. Carl Chaney won the high jump with a leap of 7 feet. On his last attempt, he barely missed clearing the bar at 7 foot 3 inches, which is only slightly beyond my vertical leaping ability. This past weekend, the Tar Heels battled the Hoos on the tennis courts. UVA has won the past 3 meetings, but one Carolina senior wouldn't let that streak continue. After the Heels take the doubles point and the number 5 singles match to lead 2-0, the Hoos storm back with wins in the top 2 singles matches. Following a UNC win in the number 4 singles match, Carolina senior David Cheatwood took the fate of the Heels on his shoulders. Tied at 4 in the last set and down 30-love, Cheatwood found a consistent and powerful backhand stroke to beat UVA's Tommy Croker. Serving for the match, Cheatwood wears down the Who's number 3 singles player to clinch the match for the Heels. Cheatwood believes that his play in tough situations pulled through the match.
Especially in that one game at 4-all, I came out with two pretty big downline backhands. Just hustle, just trying to make every ball, and just a little bit of luck too. So.
It's been a good week for the 8th-ranked women's lacrosse team against the border state of Virginia, beating both 9th-ranked UVA and breaking out the whooping stick against Virginia Tech. The Tech game on Tuesday was never really all that close, as the Heels were up 9-1 at halftime and went on to win this one 20-1. Kelly Thompson led the way with 5 goals and 2 assists. The 19-goal margin of victory is the largest in Carolina history. Head coach Jenny Slingloff-Levy says that this team is still a very young team.
We're growing and getting better every day. We have a lot of young kids on the field. We have a lot of players starting for the first time. So we anticipated a few growing pains at the beginning of their season. The important part for us was just to make sure we're getting better and taking care of the little things.
Well, as we said, spring sports really starting to get kicked off now, and we'll look forward to it.
Sounds great.
We're excited. Thanks, Devin. Climbing, sweating, grunting. They say it's a great way to spend the day with your coworkers.
Can't picture it? We'll have the pictures and the whole story straight ahead on Carolina Week.
What is United Cerebral Palsy? Therapy and education. Employment opportunities. Independent living. Family camp. United Cerebral Palsy. Building bridges to independence. You see people, we see promise. Call 800-868-3787.
On the southeast corner of campus is an outdoor retreat few people even know about.
Carolina Week's Nicole Brusick takes us to Carolina Adventures. Take it both for yourself and your group.
This is the longest zip line in the country. Students and faculty balance and wobble 30 feet in the air, pushing their limits and overcoming their fears. At Carolina Adventures here at UNC-Chapel Hill, anyone can come spend a day learning to be more cohesive as a group. It didn't seem to matter that this attempt to achieve cohesiveness took place early on a Saturday morning. It was about
getting everyone's ideas and communication, team building exercises.
The staff at Carolina Adventures showed this group of students
the importance of being a good leader and being a good follower
can be taught through activities like throwing around a chicken, playing running games, and acting like Tarzan. Swinging on a rope may look simple, but when you add a large group of people, 4 hula hoops and some platforms, it becomes much more difficult. The object of this game was to get everyone across the rope to the hula hoops without touching the ground. The strategy was to work together. The result was success. Next up was a high ropes course, the toughest and most difficult part of the day.
The most challenging part was probably the climb up to the zip line. But once you get up there, I mean, you just enjoy the ride.
Our group leader wanted us to
feel comfortable stepping outside of where your comfort zones are.
I got you, babe, I got you. And there was people that had different goals, whether it was just climbing up to the top of the ladder or going all the way down through the zip line.
At first, David Lewis's plan didn't include making it to the top because he's afraid of heights. But he was able to conquer his fear, and he too took a ride on the zip line. While reaching for the top, these students were finding courage and heroes.
Lauren jumped off that platform and went down that rope. You're my new hero.
When the day wrapped up, David and Nicolina had conquered fears. Others made it to the top and bottom of the zip line, and everyone left with a good laugh and smile, ready to head back to work, knowing each other just a little better. That, says the staffers at Carolina Adventures, is the goal with every group. In Chapel Hill, Nicole Brusick, Carolina Week.
That zip line looked like it was a lot of fun.
It was so much fun. Some of us even went upside down, if you can believe it.
Oh gosh, scary.
Quite. That does it for this edition of Carolina Week.
Thank you for joining us, and be sure to come back next week. Until then, have a good week.
And a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
If you have a story idea, contact Carolina Week at 843-8292. You can also visit us online at ibiblio.org/CW. If you have questions about this program, write Carolina Week at Campus Box 3365, UNC-CH, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, 27599.